Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Phil Switch Podcast. My name is Phil Carute, and I'm joined by my fearless co-host, Brock Tamarino. The Phil Switch Podcast is brought to you by Sal's Tire Caps. Sal's Tire Caps. They're caps for your tires. So, Brock, today our producer has tasked us with figuring out the most overrated superheroes. But first, Brock, how you doing?
I'm doing okay. I had a pretty good weekend. I got to hang out with the family. Enjoyed a few cigars. As you know, I enjoy cigars. I know you enjoy cigars. Actually, you write some reviews. I know that. You write a couple a week. Is that correct?
Yeah, I write a couple of cigar reviews a week. You can find them on comedycigarsmusic.com. While I'm at it, I've been a little busy myself, work, just my regular job, recording a couple podcasts, writing cigar reviews. Aside from the Phil Switch, I also do the 1st and 15th with Kaplowitz over at Kaplowitz Media. You can find him at kaplowitz.xyz. He actually writes cigar reviews himself, does some other writing about Sherlock. He's got a couple other projects coming up, so I'm excited to see those. But you should definitely check out kaplowitz.xyz. Kaplowitz.xyz. Yeah, other than that, like I said, just work, writing, podcast. Brock, you said you had a good weekend. That's good. Do anything else this weekend, Brock?
Watch the dogs run around the yard like a couple idiots. They always have a good time out there, barking at nothing, barking at something, running around, sniffing each other. Never gonna understand the whole sniffing thing. I mean, I understand that it has to do with dogs being dogs, but I can't imagine if you just, were sitting on your back porch or something and a couple friends came over and you just saw them start sniffing each other. I would think somebody would say something. It gets a little awkward at some point, seeing people sniff each other. Not saying people sniff each other, but I'm just saying if they did sniff each other like dogs, it would, obviously be awkward. You'd have to do something about that. You can't just let that go forever. You know what I'm saying, Phil?
Yeah, I think if I had some friends who were just sniffing each other, I would start with ridicule. And if that didn't work, I would just leave. That's what I do a lot of times, like at parties, things like that. I tend to just leave. And I don't want to get on a sad note here because it's definitely not sad, but I feel like nobody notices because I'm really not a party guy. I kind of stick to myself, myself and family. So that's kind of how I am. I know you're kind of like that too, Brock, right?
Yeah, I'm not really the party guy. I don't mind getting together every so often for stuff. I can have fun. I can let loose a little bit, but not really a party guy. Not going to be going into any big parties, anything like that. I've had my opportunity, don't get me wrong. I've had my opportunity to do stuff like that, but just not something I'm really all that interested in. So, but anyway, that's enough about us. So, what are we doing here? Superhero stuff. The producer wants some superhero stuff, correct, Phil?
That's right. Our producer, a man of many ideas, many thoughts, many adventures, maybe, thought that maybe we should take some calls from guests regarding who they think is the most overrated superhero. But before we do that, to kind of get us warmed up here, Brock, I guess we kind of have ourselves warmed up a little bit. We've talked about nothing, kind of. But who would you say is the most overrated superhero, Brock? If you had to think about it, who would you say is the most overrated superhero as far as you're concerned?
Actually, I've thought about this. We're kind of closeted nerds, or maybe not so closeted. Maybe we're just nerds or geeks or dorks or whatever. But this one's easy for me because I've actually thought about this. See, Catwoman, without a doubt, Catwoman to me is way overrated. For one, she's got no superpowers, no armor, no cool gadgets to speak of. She's just like this chick in a tight Halloween costume. You know what I'm saying? Heck, I mean, you can find that at any fraternity or sorority party especially Halloween parties. At this point, even some adult Halloween parties, because that's the thing. Adults have to get dressed up all skimpy now too. Just for fun. It's not so they can show off their goods to all their friends and family, which is kind of awkward if you think about it. But
Yeah, Brock, if there's one thing I really love about you, which actually there's a lot of favorite things about you, Brock, it's your honesty and bluntness. Might be my favorite thing about you, Brock. You're just honest. You're blunt. You're not afraid to get it out there.
Yeah, well, why wouldn't I be honest? You asked me a question. I'm going to give you my answer, right?
Yeah, I respect that. I respect that. I would have to, as far as my overrated superhero goes, and this might sound weird, I would have to say Superman, because he's just got too much power. Now, of course, there's like kryptonite that can, harm him or make him weaker. And you and I discussed a few episodes ago, actually, we were talking about who the best Batman was, or the best actor for Batman, the best person to portray Batman, either way. We talked about how basically there would be no chance of Batman beating Superman. Just not a chance. Superman would hit him with lasers or, just punch him. So I just think Superman has way too much power. And, without being too much of a comic book geek, I'm sure there's other things that might have defeated Superman. I kind of read comics, not a lot. So I'm more like into the movies and I don't know, maybe just the idea. But he's just basically undefeatable, which kind of loses the excitement for me. It's kind of like watching like an adult take on a team of 3 kindergartners in dodgeball. There's just not a great chance for the kindergartners, and that's kind of who Superman takes on all the time. It's like an adult taking on kindergartners. So anyway, that's enough for us. By the way, if you have any input on this for the listeners out there or the viewers, because this is our first time on YouTube, the producer thought we should maybe delve into that. So, Brock, this is our first time on YouTube. So if you're watching this and you want to reach out to us, obviously on YouTube, you can reach out in the comments. But for everybody else and even people that are watching YouTube, you can reach us at thefillswitch@gmail.com. Again, that's thefillswitch@gmail.com. If you have any input on what we're talking about today or have anything you would like us to talk about in the future, make sure to hit us up there. So without further ado, Brock, let's get to some of our guests and see what their most overrated who their most overrated superhero would be. So our producer says we got somebody calling in. So let's get to this individual. And we have Darrell. Darrell, go ahead. You are with the Fill Switch podcast. And today we are asking, who do you think the most overrated superhero is?
Well, that's easy for me. I mean, I kind of fancy myself kind of a tough guy, and I don't know what superpower I'd have, but I can tell you one thing right now. The guy that I think is the most overrated superhero is that Aquaman. I mean, he's basically just a fish, right? He like swims around and, I think if I had to take on a fish, and I've taken on plenty, man, I've gotten on boats, taken on fish, But I just, fish ain't that smart. You know what I'm saying? Fish are dumb. And that means Aquaman's dumb. But also, he's just a fish. I mean, they put him up in this shiny suit and they give him like one of those 3-horned spear things.
I think that's called a trident. I think it's called a trident.
That's the type of gum, ain't it? Trident's the type of, anyway, I think Aquaman is a fish, which is dumb. And then on top of that, I think he just wears a suit. And how's a superpower swimming? I mean, I bet you if he worked out enough and ate a bunch of them Subway sandwiches there, I bet you Michael Phelps, you guys remember him from the Olympics? I bet you that Michael Phelps, I bet he could take on Aquaman. Wouldn't be nothing. He take on Aquaman, he goes swimming. Michael Phelps jumps in the water, swims around. That's one thing I do. I don't swim around, but I walk around. Got my head up, shoulders back, chest out. That's how I always do it. You see Aquaman, he's down there swimming in the water, talking to fish, sea turtles. What they gonna do? Go jump up out of the water, and then what he does is he sets his friends up for failure. Because he might be saying, hey, fish friend, you help me out with this guy here, this bad guy here. His fish friend jumps out of water. Now his fish friend can't breathe. But that's the same about Aquaman. He's aqua, but also a man. So he's aqua, but a man. So he can be in the water, but he can also be on land, like a guy. And so I think if he's asking like his fish friends or his shark friends, hey, come on up here and help me with this bad guy, this bad dude, he's just having him jump out of the water, see, and then they can't breathe none. And then everybody's like, oh, hey, Aquaman, you ain't such a good guy. Yeah, see, I'd go turn around on him. Hey, Aquaman, you ain't such a good guy. You killed all this sea life. And then before you know it, PETA and environmentalists go be after him saying, hey, you might have saved the day. But in the meantime, you killed all them fish. And when them fish jumped out of the water on the beach, or you somehow got them to the city and then just dropped them in the city, they couldn't do nothing. They're sitting there flapping. Flip-flapping on the ground. And they didn't even do anything that bad guy. They didn't even contribute. So Aquaman's definitely the guy that I would say is most overrated. I just don't think I don't think he's going to do a whole lot of good for nobody. I mean, he might be jumping out of the water, flying all around. See that movie where he's got his hair all thrown back like it's some kind of model or something. Don't even make no sense. But anyway, that's my 2 pieces on that. You can keep the change. I always say that. My friend Sal, he'll say that to me every so often. He'll say, hey, here's my 2 pieces or cents on that. You can keep the change. I'm like, all right, I think I will. But anyway, that'd be my vote, I guess.
Cool. Thanks, Darrell. We appreciate it. So 1 down for Aquaman. Aquaman being the most overrated. I could see that. Aquaman's just a big fish. That makes sense.
Yeah, I would tend to agree, Aquaman. When you think about it, he is just kind of a big human fish. Not very exciting. I'm gonna have to reconsider my my original overrated superhero at some point. I'm not saying I am now. For me, it's still Catwoman, of course, but I'm gonna have to reconsider that at some point. But anyway, yeah, thanks, Darrell. Okay, who we got coming up next? Producer says we got Jerry. Jerry coming up next. Jerry, welcome to the Phil Switch. We would like to know who you think the most overrated superhero is. So, Jerry, without further ado, the time is yours here.
Well, I reckon if I had to think about it, and I guess I have, I'd say that, I'd say that Spider-Man feller, I think he'd be a little bit overrated. That's what I'd say. I mean, first of all, I think that spider poison that he got when he got bit by the spider, and then he had the poison of the spider in him, I think it probably would have been more effective. I think that's a word. Anyway, I think it would have been more effective. Might have bit him on the butt cheek. The butt cheek has more muscle mass than the top of the hand. So I reckon that's the first thing. I didn't really buy into him getting all them powers from the spider just biting him on top of the hand. That don't make no sense to me. It seems like maybe if he would have just got bit on the top of the hand, then best case scenario, he just got a stronger arm, or maybe even just a stronger hand. But I don't see him getting powder all through his body just from getting bit on the hand. I would say they will have to get beat up on the butt cheek at least because of the muscle mass difference. So that's my first thing. And,
Jerry, you still with us?
Yeah, I'm still here. I'm thinking about my second thing.
Jerry, do you know how long the second thing might be? We try to keep this pretty short and sweet here on the Phil Switch.
I guess I got it. Well, watching them movies, my second thing, I guess I wish I'd figure out whether Spider-Man can make them webs himself, or if he has to wear some kind of contraption on his wrist with web goo in it. I guess I don't understand. Can he make the webs from his body? Or does he have to make them in some kind of science place and then put them in some kind of contraption and shoot out web goo? But he had to make up, and then if maybe he really needs that web goo, but with all this supply chain stuff going on, maybe he can't get the materials to make the web goo, and then they can't save no one. I mean, he could, but he ain't gonna be able to swing around the city like Tarzan. We're gonna have to figure out a different way, maybe take an Uber or something. But then there's traffic, of course. So that's a whole other ball of wax, I reckon.
All right, Jerry. So,
And then thirdly, well, I guess I just got them two reasons. So I guess I'd say Spider-Man because of his spider bite placement and the whole web thing question part.
all right, Jerry, thank you very much for calling into the Phil Switch. So we have one for Aquaman, one for Spider-Man. Jerry, thank you very much.
You're welcome. If I think of more reasons, I'll give you guys a call back. I'll think about that, and if I get some more ideas, I'll give you guys a call back.
That sounds good, Jerry. Thank you.
All right.
Okay, let's go to our next caller. Looks like we got Samantha. Samantha, you are on the line with the Phil Switch podcast. We are asking you who you think the most overrated superhero is to date. So, Samantha, go right ahead. Okay, so like my most overrated superhero is like Wonder Woman. She's supposed to be like totes cool, but she's like so whatever. Like her clothes. First of all, they're totes outdated. It doesn't even make sense. And she totes doesn't pick up on the guy vibes. Like, she's like overrated to the max. Like the guys are like, hey, Wonder Woman, like, you're so pretty. And she's like, what? And they're like, you're so pretty. And she's like, are you talking to me? And they're like, you're so pretty. And she's like, I don't even get it. And I'd be like, oh my gosh, you think I'm pretty? This is so great. And I'd be like, guys, hey guys. And like Wonder Woman doesn't even get it. And like, what's up with that whip? Like, I don't understand the whip. Like, ring, ring. Hi, Wonder Woman. Indiana Jones called. He like totes wants his whip back. And like, why don't you just wear a hat, like one of those leather hats while you're at it? And like, be afraid of snakes and stuff like that. Like Wonder Woman, like she's pretty, but like she's like pretty, but she's like she's just pretty, but like she's kind of smart and like strong and like, so I guess what I'm saying is like to some degree, like I think she's okay, but like maybe she just like flaunts it too much. Like it's like, okay, we get it. You're like pretty and you're smart and you're strong, but it's like, why can't you just like be like normal looking and maybe like not so smart and maybe like not so strong? Like you're totes intimidating the rest of us here. Like then when I like dress up as Wonder Woman, like at my Halloween party at my sorority, then I'm like, whoa, like guys, I'm just a normal girl. Like I'm totes pretty, obviously, but it's like, hey guys, I'm like a B student. Like every so often I'll get like an A, but like mostly I'm a B student. And I'm like, and the guys like totes dig me because I get it. Like I get the signs.
Just as a point of argument to something I said earlier, don't worry about it. But did you say you dress up like Wonder Woman when you go to your Halloween parties at your sorority? And I'm guessing it's like short shorts and a tight top where maybe you can see the top of your bosoms, and I'm guessing you have a lot of makeup on your face. Is that what you wear to your Halloween parties at your sorority? Is that what it looks like?
Oh my gosh, like, are you a fly on the wall? Like, totally. That's like totally how I look. At the Halloween parties, like, who doesn't wear that? Like, I saw a girl one time, she wore like a full dress. She was saying, I forget what she even said she was, like Alice from like Alice in Wonderland or something. I guess it's a book. But anyway, she was like, oh, I'm wearing this dress. And like, you could totes like only see her ankles and like her arms. It's like sun's out, guns out. Like she was trying to do a gun show. Like, I don't know if she's into CrossFit or like what. But it's like everybody else was like in these really sexy uniforms. And it's like, hey, everybody, this is what a party is.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. Samantha, do you have any more thoughts on Wonder Woman?
No, that's like pretty much it. She's like just overrated to the max, like totes. And like they need to do like a whole like makeover for Wonder Woman. That's what I think anyway, but that's just me. So I'll see you guys later. But thanks for having me on. And I'll probably call back sometime, like whenever I get a chance, if you guys are doing this little thing again on your show. So it's really cool. Okay. Thank you, Samantha. Have a good day. All right. So the next caller we have up is Tobias, and it looks like we have the producer saying we have time for like 3 more. All right, including Tobias. Thank you. Thank you, producer. So Tobias, welcome to the Phil Switch. We are wondering who, I keep wanting to say what. We are wondering who do you think the most overrated superhero is presently or in the past? Hopefully not the future, because we might not know who you're talking about at all. And if I remember Tobias, we might not know who you're talking about at all anyway. But anyway, Tobias, welcome to the show. Let us know who you think the most overrated superhero is.
Okay, so guys, now I know I'm going outside the box here. To give you a little hint, I'm going outside the box, or should I say into the forest. But I would have to say that the most overrated superhero, okay, and hear me out. The most overrated superhero, Anakin Skywalker. Now, now, I know some people conventionally wouldn't think he's a superhero. And I know if I said Darth Vader, people would be like, well, that's not really a superhero. That's like an anti-hero. So I totally get that. And that's why I'm going with Anakin Skywalker. Because Anakin Skywalker was good. At one time, he had goodness in his heart. Now, it might have been some darkness that was overshadowing. But for the most part, Anakin was like, he was like a good guy, you know? Like, he was like trying to do the right thing. Like when he did the racer thing, he was like, oh, I want to win. And then like, he tried to be like nice to his mom. Like he really loved his mom and he really loved Padme. And I think for a while he really loved Obi-Wan, but like Obi-Wan, like he felt like right before he became Darth Vader, or actually I guess he was already Darth Vader at that time. But like when he becomes Darth Vader, he's like, oh, Obi-Wan has betrayed me. I can't believe this. And then Obi-Wan's like, oh, Anakin, you were supposed to be like the hope or whatever. And Anakin's like, oh, it's not me. Like I'm so mad. But actually Darth Vader said that because he was like, I guess Palpatine technically knighted him, which is really weird. Like knighted him as Darth Vader before he fought. Obi-Wan Kenobi. So anyway, but Anakin, I think was underrated. And I guess I haven't got around to it. Sometimes I ramble. Every so often I ramble just a little bit because I get super excited about this stuff. But anyway, I'm so glad you guys had me call in. I really have been wanting to talk about this. I talked about it to some of my friends and they're like, dude, he's not a superhero. Let me make this argument real quick though first before I move on too far. I think he's a superhero because he does possess superpowers. And I think we all know what those superpowers are from. They're from the Force, right? They're from the Force. So obviously he does possess some type of like superpowers. So that's cool. But the thing is, I think he's overrated because I believe in my heart, for one, I don't think Anakin or Darth Vader, even though we're not talking about necessarily the Darth Vader half of him, I don't think Anakin could have ever truly taken on Obi-Wan And spoiler alert, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen the new Obi-Wan series, you might want to plug your ears. But anytime that Obi-Wan tries to take on Anakin or Darth Vader, Obi-Wan like totally wins. And I know that people say, well, Darth Vader actually defeats him, but I really think that Obi-Wan just threw that fight, because all Obi-Wan did was like stand there like, okay, hit me. And then Darth Vader hit him. So it's like, had Obi-Wan not done that, I think Obi-Wan would have won that fight. And I will just say, I won't totally spoil it, but if you haven't seen the new Obi-Wan series, Obi-Wan kind of dominated once again. So I just think Anakin, like they built him up to be like this really strong at the time Jedi. But I for one, he couldn't have taken Obi-Wan. That's for sure. Okay, I don't think that. And secondly, there's no way he's taking on Yoda. Come on. Like, Yoda's like spinning all around. Like when he took on Dooku, that was awesome for one. First of all, that was awesome. But then I don't think Obi-Wan could have beat Yoda, but obviously they never would have fought because they're friends and they're both on the good side or the light side of the Force. So I'm saying it, hot take, Anakin Skywalker, most overrated superhero. If you don't agree, fight me. Just joking. I'm a lover, not a fighter. Well, technically, I'm not a lover either. So, yeah, no, I don't want to fight. But I think that if you really let your mind open to the Force, you'll see what I mean. So that's my little thing for the day.
Cool. Thank you very much, Tobias. We appreciate you coming on. Always fun to have you on here. So Anakin Skywalker, out of left field, but we appreciate it. So Tobias, thank you for coming on the Phil Switch.
Oh, thanks for having me, guys. May the Force be with you.
All right, Tobias, good deal. We got two more callers here. So the first one is Pat. So Pat, welcome to the Phil Switch. We are wondering who you think the most overrated superhero is to date. Pat, you are on the Phil Switch.
Oh my gosh, guys. Okay, so I've thought about this. I knew you guys were coming on with this topic, right? And so I've thought about it a little bit. I'm going to be honest. And the most overrated superhero that I can think of at the present time, or any time before this, actually, is the Tick. The Tick. I don't get him. He's like a bug. They literally. Now I know they have Spider-Man too, but the Tick, they literally just call a bug. Like Spider-Man is Spider-Man, all right? The Tick is not Tick-Man. The Tick is Tick. And I just don't get it. He wears this little tight blue suit. He's got his little antennas. And what does he do? What is he, super strong? I mean, to be honest with you, I don't really watch it that much. I was aggravated. I was babysitting some kids here, and they said, can we watch The Tick? I think they had a cartoon or a TV show or something like that. And I'm like, okay, whatever. I'm thinking it's like, maybe it's some kind of National Geographic show. I don't know. So I say, okay, what channel is it on? And they tell me, and it's obviously not a National Geographic at this point, I can tell. And so I turn it on, and there's this grown man in a tight blue suit with antennas coming out of his head. And I'm like, what is this garbage? And the kids are like, oh, it's a Tick. He's really funny. And I'm like, what is this garbage? And the kids just keep telling me, and they're sitting there watching, and they're watching, and they're watching. And I want to say that at the time, I want to say that it was like one of those marathon things where like they played The Tick for like 500 hours in a row just so they could, build up to the next season or something. It might not have been that. I have no idea. It just seems like the kids were watching it forever. And I'm sitting here every so often as I'm doing laundry and coming in and out and talking to my friends on the phone. I'm seeing this here and I'm thinking to myself, oh dear. These kids are just watching this and they are just mesmerized. Like they think this is the greatest superhero ever. And I'm sitting here looking at it. I'm like, oh my gosh, please, 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 please. I was like, this guy does not know what he's doing. This guy doesn't know his head from a hole in the ground. Look at the antennas on his head. And so I think the Tick, I don't get him. He's a bug, but a grown man wearing a tight blue suit with antennas on his head. And I don't understand. That's what I'll say. I don't understand. So the Tick, you guys have a blessed day. Thank you for having me on the show. You guys are beautiful. Brock, I love you. You know I love you, Brock. And Phil, I like you too. Just keep doing what you're doing, Phil. I do like you. And yeah, so the tick, mark that down. I'm sure you have other people calling in saying the tick because nobody understands him, nobody gets him. So thank you very much. And like I said, you guys have a blessed day. Love you guys, like you fell, and I'll see you guys later. Okay, that was mildly hurtful. But she does like you, Brock, or she loves you. She likes me, loves you. That's cool, Brock. I understand that. No problem. And my feelings aren't hurt. My feelings aren't hurt. So anyway, she said the tick. She's maybe one of our most passionate people about the most overrated superhero, Brock.
Yeah, she definitely has strong opinions there. The only one that might have been a little more passionate might have been Tobias. He had really thought that theory through. I have a feeling Tobias has had a lot of conversations with a lot of people like that. But yeah, Pat definitely doesn't like the tick. So, which I got to be honest, my knowledge base of the tick is pretty limited. So I don't have a dog in that fight either way. I don't know much about the tick. I think I do remember him being strong or something like that. But that's about it. So,
Yeah, it's about same here. I think I saw maybe the cartoon, or maybe this TV show, or maybe the live action or whatever. But I don't really remember much about it. I want to say like I thought it was kind of humorous because I think he's more of like a humorous type of superhero. But yeah, I really don't remember. Anyway, producer says we have one more caller. Let's see. Final caller. Javier, you were on the Phil switch. We are trying to figure out who our listeners or just people out there believe to be the most overrated superhero. So Javier, without further ado, the most overrated superhero in your opinion.
okay, so I thought about this a lot, right? I seen the movies. I seen all the superhero movies. I watch the TV shows, and I see what they're doing there. And for the first thing, I would say, when I first started this question, I think to myself, I say, Javier, who do you think the most overrated superhero is? And the first guy that comes to mind is the guy that blows ice out of his hands. You know, the guy that have ice and he blows them out of his hands. And I think to myself, I think, Javier, that's definitely the most overrated superhero. Because, for one, he's so cold. There is no romance in his life. And I gotta tell you, guys, from a guy that knows romance, Javier, the most romantic person in the world, that's me. The women's, they don't like these frozen hands. If you had the frozen hands, the women are like, oh, you're so cold. And they have to have like 10 layers of blankets. So I said to that, I say, there's no way the guy that shoot icy things out of his hands is a relevant superhero. So at first, my first thought is, he has to be the most overrated superhero. He's a guy that shoot icy things out of his hands. But as I think more, I want to tell you this, guys. I'm into the romance, right? And so when I think about it more, and I really come to terms and to grips with my thoughts on the most overrated superhero, I tell you right now, the person that I think is the most overrated superhero is all the superheroes. And I tell you like that because of this. There are no superheroes that I really see have a lot of romance. Like, you have your guys like Superman, who has a lady, but it's always in and out. There's never really any commitment. Now, I know maybe in later comics, they make them love and everything like this, but there's always that problem with their relationship, right? The romance is like very fractured. And the same with Batman. He never have a woman that's very stable for him. It's always fractured. It's always all over the place. And that would tell you them one thing. If you're gonna write a comic book, you're gonna make a superhero, whether a man or a woman. Like Wonder Woman, somebody mentioned Wonder Woman later. She never have a stronger relationship either with a man. Never had to have a romance. Or it could be a lady, I don't know. Anyways, she never have a strong relationship. She never had a romance. And I would say to the comic book writers out there, all the comic book writers listening to the Phil Swish, if you ever want some insight on your new characters, let Javier help you. I will make your character very well-rounded. Not only will the character be strong and fast and whatever superpowers you give him, maybe shoot laser beams from his fingertips or something like that. I will make sure that he is well-rounded with a romance. So that's my answer, Freedom Rock. If you want to know who I think the most overrated superhero is, it's all of them. Because they got no romance. The romance is not in their lives. And that's a bad thing. That makes them so overrated, all the power in the world. If they don't have the love and the romance, what's it mean? God bless. Romance be strong with you guys.
Thanks, Javier. That's awesome. So every superhero is overrated because of a lack of romance.
Yeah, that's what I got. Javier, is that correct? We heard that correctly? And okay. Producer said he hung up. He said he heard a little kiss sound on the phone receiver thing there, and then he hung up. All right, cool. All right, well, that about ends it for us. So, Phil, do you want to take us out? Am I taking us out? What are we doing here?
Yeah, I usually take us out, but Brock, why don't you? Got a little nice debut here on YouTube. One more episode in the can, so to speak. So, Brock, you go ahead and take us out, buddy. That'll be just fine. I would just like to say on my behalf, thank you, everyone, for listening and watching. Appreciate it.
Okay, so thanks for listening to the Phil Switch podcast. Don't forget to check out, not mine, but Phil's other podcast, The First to 15th, which he co-hosts with Kaplowitz over at Kaplowitz Media. They have a good time over there. If you would like to contact us here at The Phil Switch, email us at thephilswitch@gmail.com. Again, that's thephilswitch@gmail.com. For people listening, there's usually links in the description, and same for YouTube, I guess. So, so look for links if you want to get some more information about all that or what we do here. We wish you all a great week, and we'll talk to you soon here at The Phil Switch.